All right, guys, next up for the top four of this PCS trophy qualifier. Number 6 we're on now. We have BBTV having won his quarterfinals match versus TT, going up against return top cutter in Mac Logan. So BBTV is actually a 23-year-old from France, so good to see, as always, a lot of French representation in this tournament. He is currently on the Empire Suisse Romande team. I hope I pronounced that right. So if you guys want to go ahead and check him out, his Twitter link will be in the description below. And Mac Logan, as I mentioned before, has finished in the top 8. I think he actually got second place in one of the previous PCS trophy qualifiers, and he is 28, also from France. So lots of French representation in the top cut this go around. So we already know that BBTV is going with a very typical mid-range Frostbite, Misfortune, Quinn, Scouts, and Karma Ezreal lineup. Mac Logan, changing that around just a little bit, does also have the mid-range Frostbite, which seemed to be one of the most popular decks in any tournament that we've been doing since the patch 1.6 has dropped. We also have him playing the Ezreal TF, which is, again, my favorite version of playing Ezreal. And instead of that mid-range scout type deck, he actually opted for Thresh Lux, and that is a common deck that we have been seeing pop up lately, but it's more, you could argue it's mid-range or control both ways, but it's probably more of a control deck in general. So definitely going more towards the mid-range control lineup. So we will see who's able to advance to the finals and take home an invite. Mac Logan obviously already getting an invite. So we'll see if he's just able to take one of the spots yet again, and we'll see who his competitor will be if he is able to take down BBTV here in the semifinals. So let's get into game 1, BBTV versus Mac Logan. We are about to get into the game, so let's go ahead and move it on over. This is going to be the semifinals. JusteBBTV versus Mac Logan.
So the bans for this game, Mac Logan banned Karma Ezreal and BBTV banned Ashe Sejuani. So we're not going to see an Ezreal mirror match like we saw almost play out to fruition on the other side of the semifinal bracket. Instead, JusteBBTV going to be opening up with this Ashe Sejuani into this Twisted Fate Ezreal. And I feel like this is probably one of the better matchups into a Twisted Fate Ezreal deck. As good as Riptide Rex typically is against board-centric decks, it can actually have a hard time getting through the thick board of the Freljord deck.
Yeah, and we'll see.
What the hell?
What just happened?
Pool Shark turn 1.
All right. I can't understand why people do this. Like, that's literally, I know it's a 1-drop. I feel like people just see a 1-drop and they're like, it's a 1-drop.
I mean,
got to do it. There, you do have the Zonite Urchin.
Yeah, I think that's it. Is like, you're like, I don't care what I draw. I'm going to discard it to Zonite Urchin. We'll just pretend it's a card I was never going to see. But that's Ezreal, baby. This is as punishing as it gets.
Yeah. I feel like you need to at least wait until there's a turn you can play it, where you can play an Ezreal if you do draw it. Like, it just feels so bad to draw a fleeting, or a TF for that matter. A TF or an Ezreal, which means you need to have at least 4 mana, summoning mana available. And nope, we're going to see that Ezreal ditched. And JusteBBTV is probably going to make note of that as well.
Yeah, 1 Ezreal down. I don't think it impacts too much. We typically don't see Ezreals coming down before they're leveled in a matchup like this. This isn't one of those matchups where you're playing for the fleeting Mystic Shot. So it should be fine. It looks like Mac Logan really just wants to play heavily into the board. Gets a really good 1-drop follower in that Bark Beast. But I still think you're inclined to just throw this Bark Beast under the bus here to the Icevale Archer.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with that as well, but it looks like he just takes the 3 damage. So far, 2 different decisions from Mac Logan to start the game off here. Not necessarily wrong. We're accepting here. We're non-judgmental here as casters. So we'll see where this game takes us.
Does have the Ezreal, or not the Ezreal, the Twisted Fate red card available if he wants to take this out, as well as push a little bit damage on the face, which I think you're going to be inclined to do with how aggressively you've been playing for board thus far. And honestly, JusteBBTV's hand sucks if you do that. Like, this is a really bad hand. Brittle Steel is so bad in a matchup like this. This Elixir of Iron doesn't have any priority targets. You're loaded up on Reckoning, and the Calling Strike, and you only have one 5-attack unit for this Reckoning Activator, and it is not coming down until turn 6. This is actually going disastrously for JusteBBTV so far. This hand does not line up any way that you want it to, and this is a problem we are consistently running into with this Ash Noxus deck, and I think that's why it's not taking up all top 8 spots across tournaments. We didn't even see it in every finalist's lineup last weekend. It does have a fair amount of inherent inconsistencies.
Yeah, and I got to agree with you. It's weird, right? It's because it's so prevalent, and it does have. It's not like a bad win percentage or anything on ladder or tournaments or anything. I feel like people use it just because it's like it's reliable as far as it can win most matchups. Keyword can. But then we have issues like this where this hand is just so bad. I mean, I really am not really seeing a way that BBTV is going to have any easy way to win this game, especially because, as we mentioned earlier, there is no Captain Farron or Kato the Arm in this deck. So the aggressiveness is just not quite there in comparison to some other mid-range Frostbite decks, and that might punish him a little bit here.
It definitely has potential to. I was a little curious as to why Mac Logan went for the open attack rather than going for the Twisted Fate red card. I was trying to take a quick look at JusteBBTV's deck list to see what sort of the punish was, and there are 3 Babbling Bjerg because he is playing that more control-y version. As I had mentioned, if you guys are just joining us, JusteBBTV and a couple of the other players are not playing the Reckless Trifarian and Kato the Arm version. They've sort of returned to that I only play Glory Seeker, Assessor, Reckoning, Calling Strike kind of version. More of a return to the older versions of the deck, not really liking the Reckless Trifarian adaptation.
And there is the Riptide. So we are confirmed turn 8 is a go for Riptide Rex right now. I imagine we'll see that come down sometime soon. But for now, has a decision to make. It looks like he's going to go with the Zonite Urchin, tossing the Assessor, basically
that
because...
That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, you're never going to get any use out of that. There's really... Actually, does he ever get a draw off it besides Riptide?
I want to say the answer is no, unless you Fury of the North something.
No, I don't think... Yeah, he would never... It's literally only Riptide Rex. So, yep, I'm going to go with that was a good decision to go ahead and get rid of that card.
I'm trying to think if there's... I'm trying to think if there's any 1-drop you can get off of Petty Officer that has 5 attack, and I'm pretty sure the answer is no. I'm also kind of hoping the answer is no.
If there was a 5 attack 1-drop in this... Well, oh wait. Can you ever get a Yeti off of Petty Officer?
No.
So 1-drop tokens don't count in that?
No, because you can't get a Spiderling either.
And you can't get a Cataclysm. Can you get a Cataclysm?
If you could get a Cataclysm.
there's like a 2.6% chance you get a 1-drop 30/30 with Overwhelm. Seems okay.
That's the casino. Any deck that plays Petty Officer is now the casino deck.
I don't. So is that actually impossible though? You can. Never...
It is impossible. Kind of like how there are a couple of restrictions that aren't necessarily listed. Petty Officer can't get token cards like Catastrophe, Spiderling, Yeti.
Yep.
Swiftwing Lancer, even though it says create a random elite in your hand, cannot give you Garen.
Oh, that's right. So it's. But see, I feel like they should specify a little bit more then.
They probably
say, like,
should.
Non-champion elite.
So something that I do want to talk about on throwing away that Assessor is we do see the double Hearthguard picked up by Mac Logan. And that's something I was considering when he threw away that Assessor, is that he is playing the full-on Pilfer package with 3 Pilfered Goods. Typically, we're seeing players not play any Pilfered Goods. It's usually a 1 or 2 of in the Twisted Fate Ezreal, but in the Nab deck specifically, we're generally just seeing the Merchants and the Grifters. So having that full Nab Pilfer package available to you, I think the Assessor does have a little bit more merit because you know that you're probably going to steal some 5-attack units from your opponent.
That is a good point. Yeah, and I'm surprised I'm just now noticing that now that you're mentioning it. Yeah, it's weird. Pilfered Goods is pretty much like fallen off a cliff since the nerf. And I think it was actually the tournament that we just casted on Thursday, the Brazilian tournament, where we were watching this deck and we had commented that there is no Pilfered Goods in a lot of the TF Ezreal decks. But yeah, 3 of here. We'll see if it helps them. We do see a gold card come out onto the Sejuani, which effectively shuts down BBTV's attack turn. And a Reckoning will feel bad when it does come down.
I don't think you're getting a Reckoning off. Yeah, I think this Thermo Beam comes down onto the Sejuani, playing mana efficiently, still developing the Twisted Fate. Have a pretty decent open attack here. And I actually think this could be lethal. because
Yeah.
it's
Oh, yeah, you can open attack and then Riptide for 7 to the face. Well, maybe a little less because I'm sure
yeah.
I'll play something, but
I'm trying to figure out if those like the double warning shot represents lethal on top of the
3, 6,
perceivable
7,
Riptide
8,
damage.
9,
Oh, we're actually culling
3, 4,
striking
7,
that
8.
to save damage.
So if he doesn't play a unit, which I highly doubt, it is game.
Even if he plays this, Battling Beer gets lethal because of the double warning shot.
Because that would be 5 damage, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yeah, yep.
All right, so Mac Logan probably has this JusteBBTV. Even if you play the Sejuani to survive the Riptide, you pretty much still lose, just kind of given the fact that, you lose your Sejuani. Yeah, this should just be lethal unless we go for the Pilfer.
Unless we go for not winning the game, it's don't hover that anymore, Mac Logan.
Put it away.
You
already stole the Hearth Guards. Now play Riptide Rex. I don't know about you,
stop
but
now.
My Twitter feed has been full of hatred for Riptide Rex recently.
Why? Why?
Just a lot of players are getting tired of this card.
Well, that's funny because when it came out, people didn't.
I know
think it was
we were
that
all
great.
looking for ways to play it.
Oh my god. Really? I mean, I guess that's gonna happen of any card in a format, right? Like as the card continues to get played, people are just gonna be like, all right, this card's broken. We need to stop seeing it. Why do we keep seeing this card? But we do see Mac Logan taking it home, game 1 of the semi-finals here with the TF Ezreal deck, and now we're gonna see BBG's, not to be confused with BBTV or BBC, his namesake deck of the Thresh Lux here. And the reason I say that is because BBG was one of the first, if not the first, to kind of pilot this deck back at the first fight night after patch 1.6 dropped.
Yeah, definitely sort of bringing this one into, I wanted to say the 21st century, but not only has Runeterra only existed in the 21st century, it has also only existed in 2020, so that doesn't necessarily feel correct. But we did see this deck way back when, in I think it was beta, where it was an Undying deck. Just sort of whipping that one out a little bit randomly, back when the meta was sort of a lawless wasteland. And that's actually something I wanted to ask you about. The more I saw this Riptide Rex hate, it was something I was thinking about. If you had all of the knowledge that you had now, what deck would you play on ladder Rising Tides release weekend?
Okay, I see what you're saying. So like if we already knew what the meta would be, what would I play? Oh, I like the question. That's creative. Good job. I like that question. I would say, oh god, TF Ezreal. Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah, because think right when patch 1.5 was towards the end, or not 1.5, whatever I think it was 1.1. No, was it 1.2 was when Rising Tides.
Well, Ezreal really fell off at the release of Rising Tides because Bannerman was so powerful. Ezreal wasn't doing super well into it.
Yeah, right. So, and that's what I'm saying, right? So there used to be, like, Karma Ezreal was huge.
Yeah.
I think there was a couple other, Frostbite Ezreal, right? And then it started falling off because of Bannerman and some aggro decks and whatnot. If I had known there was a better way to do Karma Ezreal, like TF, yeah, oh, hell yeah. Especially because when TF did release, everybody's eyes were, like, wide, like, oh my god, this card could be amazing, but we couldn't really quite figure out how to use him, as well as he could be used, which we use him, now. And, yeah, 100% TF Ezreal all the way.
All right, I can get behind that. Speaking of Bannerman and the release of Rising Tides, the nerfed Grizzled Ranger going to come down for Mac Logan, but still does a lot of work. I really like this card still. I think that the nerfs onto it were warranted, and it still feels good to play. Loyal Badger Bear, maybe not so much. RIP, my friend. But I honestly, I don't know about you, but when I actually saw Loyal Badger Bear, I didn't think the card was in the set. I thought it was just there so that you understood what was being summoned off the Grizzled Ranger.
Wait, you thought what was there just to understand
I didn't think Loyal Badger Bear was in the set.
Oh, neither did I. I thought it was a token. So that's why when it first came out, I was like, okay, this makes sense that it's not an actual card because it seems a little overpowered and it's only a token. But then I realized it's an actual card too, and I'm like, what is wrong? That's so stupid. Why would they do that? Oh man. So thank God it ended up getting nerfed because I was under the same exact impression. That and what was the other one? The Narwhal, Golden Narwhal.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Also didn't think that was a card, which that shouldn't be a card because it's absolute trash. So I don't understand why they did that.
So I actually thought Mac Logan was going to go for the Glimpse Beyond here to get the Badger Bear and then attack for 3, but it looks like he was actually setting up for a universe brain single combat onto the Ashe. You know, just kind of throwing out this attack the second time around. JusteBBTV gets a little bit greedy, says, I can't afford to not take that block. Obviously, I want to kill this Grizzled Ranger. What punish could you possibly have? And Mac Logan says, well, this one.
Yep, and Mac Logan seems like he's in a pretty good spot right now, not going to lie. Already has the Thresh in hand to eventually possibly pull out one of these Luxes here. Going to go ahead and drop it down already, and it trades incredibly well into Babbling Bjerg, by the way, if you were wondering. Also have a Radiant Guardian here as well, which we might be able to see come down on not this turn. Nothing has died yet.
So we've only seen Unyielding Spirits onto Radiant Guardians so far. We haven't actually seen anyone get that down onto a Lux. But I feel like this is the one matchup where the Radiant Guardian with Unyielding Spirit doesn't really work out for you, especially given the large amount of Frostbite effects in JusteBBTV's hand. When you're playing for a tough lifesteal unit as your undying sort of, you know, all-in trump card, it doesn't work out super well when it has 0 attack.
And we do see the Glimpse come out to go ahead and kill one of those tokens and get this Radiant Guardian down. But I do agree, right? I mean, Frostbite makes a lot of things not matter, and one of those being the lifesteal and Radiant Guardian. So getting it on Lux is going to be pretty pivotal to Mac Logan being able to take home this victory. It's always weird now with it being a fast speed spell. It's much harder to get that like little window of when you can play it and not have it negated or have the follower or champion destroyed.
So this could be a disastrous reckoning for JusteBBTV.
Okay. Because of the two remembrance.
The double remembrance, yeah. You would wipe out your opponent's board, you wouldn't actually probably even be able to attack for the 5 because the remembrance would come out in response, and if you get a tough unit, you can just block the Hearthguard with that. So instead does go for the Ashe, and that's one of the things I really like about this deck into the Unyielding Spirit is, you know, it's one thing to say the Radiant Guardian has 0 attack, but to make it so that it also can't block because of the leveled Ashe is huge. And JusteBBTV can Frostbite the entire board thanks to this Brittle Steel. And I'm not sure that Mac Logan has an answer. He probably has to fire off this Concerted Strike right now before the Ashe attack turns off the Thresh. This Rekindler will currently grab nothing. How is Mac Logan going to play this one out?
I don't know. That's tough. He's in really like a super awkward spot right now. Wow. All right. So it looks like he plays the Concerted Strike to get rid of this Ashe, which I don't mind. It's conserving as much damage as possible, but now we're going to see the Brittle Steel come out. And the thing with playing Concerted Strike while your opponent still has mana, which, I mean, Brittle Steel is only, 1 mana, you got to just kind of expect some sort of freeze to come out, especially with an Ashe on board. He could have another Ashe in hand for even a flash freeze. It's almost, it's pretty uncertain, or sorry, pretty likely that the Concerted Strike is not going to go off as we saw there. And can I mention something? I do the same thing that he just did with Concerted Strike all the time. I go to select my units first and then the other unit, which I feel like would make sense with the way the card works. It's just a really stupid critique, but I'm glad to see somebody else makes the same mistake, not just me.
So I do want to say that is the second Brittle Steel out of JusteBBTV, and I'm checking to make sure he only plays 2. Yeah, he only plays 2. So that was the second Brittle Steel, so I definitely sort of don't blame Mac Logan for going for that one. I think it would have worked out phenomenally for him. Luckily, the Ashe doesn't level here despite 3 freeze effects coming out this turn.
Yeah, and I think this Thresh is at, 3 maybe? So still a little ways to go before it's going to pull a Lux out. We do see another Lux in hand, which is always good. But whether or not we're going to be able to get okay, there's 2 Lux. Get a final Spark off is an entirely different question.
Looks like we are going to go for a potential Unyielding Spirit play. I don't think you actually have to do that, though. There is no real enticing block onto this Radiant Guardian because of the Tough, so Mac Logan probably just going to be fine to run out a Lux, go for the Unyielding Spirit, pretty uncontested onto it on the following turn. Would have to be pretty much exactly Flash Freeze or Harsh Winds into a Culling Strike, and as we see on the side of JusteBBTV, that is not available to him. So Mac Logan pretty likely to get the Undying Lux out, and then with 2 Remembrance in hand, that should just be the ball game.
I don't know. Are you doing it again? You calling it a little quick again? I don't know.
I mean, look, it's exciting when I call it quick.
Now everybody's waiting. Can we?
Gets the people going.
Yeah, now everybody's like, all right, can we say Boulevard's wrong? Can we prove him wrong at the end of the game? Only time will tell. And yeah, now this Thresh is, I think, one more until he levels.
That sounds about right.
If I can count correctly, we do see. Okay, now this Ashe is going to get leveled with the Sejuani on the field, though, and that means we're going to have a Crystal Arrow getting drawn next turn on an attack turn. This might just be lethal here, depending. I mean, we have a Harsh Winds in hand too.
Yeah, we could be going for the Harsh Winds lethal next turn, though I don't think it's actually lethal. Yeah, not actually lethal because there will still be at least one blocker on the side of Mac Logan in that Spiderling. So maybe you just go for the Crystal Arrow and try to push out the Harsh Winds after the fact. There's not a phenomenal punish on the side of Mac Logan in terms of slow speed things. It's really just Vengeance that you're worried about, which you can't play around anyway. So I actually think I like the Crystal Arrow here.
That's what I was kind of going for, was the Crystal Arrow and Harsh Winds, you know, assuming Mac Logan's going to play another unit. Kind of interesting to not see that come out, though. I mean, this would only frostbite the Radiant Guardian. I really do think you just go ahead, you arrow the Radiant Guardian. You can go ahead and attack to freeze the Lux. If another unit comes down, you have the Harsh Winds. And that's a pretty big swing.
I think that is your best bet for lethal, and I'm trying to math out whether or not that works, and I think the answer is yes. 13, Mac Logan 18, 19, not going to have enough available to him because Harsh Winds is burst speed, and yeah, this should just be JusteBBTV picking up the win here.
Oh! Wow, you really did call it early. That was... And see, I will say, though, that is a mistake that I think not just casters have made in the past, but everybody makes going against this mid-range Frostbite deck. It can literally, in the blink of an eye, just go ahead and swing the game entirely in your direction because of a leveled Ashe. Suddenly, everything on your field just does not matter.
It's really not often that we see the the surprise Ashe lethal with the Harsh Winds coming out anymore. A couple of players have even started to just cut Harsh Winds from the list entirely. But this is the power of the Ashe. It does still happen.
Yeah, and it looks like he's playing 2 copies of Harsh Winds. And we do see the Remembrance, and yeah, I mean, this is just going to be an open attack into Harsh Winds. Now, is there anything on BBTV's side that you're worried about that you play around with this Harsh Winds?
Not for 3 mana. Not for 3 mana.
Yeah, I don't think so. So, yeah, I think he just knows he has game. Wow. That is pretty crazy how quickly that turned around from 18 to 0. We're talking about Ezreal 20 to 0s, and we got some Ashe 20 to 0s here. Come on, let's get it.
The one sort of punish, I guess, would have been if there was a Vile Feast for Mac Logan. He could have killed the Avarosan Sentry and actually would have lived at 1. And then I think takes over the game because they had the Final Spark immediately, and then a couple of more Final Sparks could come out on the following turn.
Yeah, I think you're right. Vile Feast probably would have turned that around. I don't know if there was a way for him to do any that one additional damage, since he would have been at 1 if BBTV would have had it. No Captain Farron, no reach, unfortunately. But that does mean we are going to game 3 here, tied 1-1. JusteBBTV versus Mac Logan. Who's going to get a shot to go to the finals and, more importantly, get an invite to the Invitational, the grand finals, so to speak, on the 21st and 22nd of August?
So you would assume that the control deck, the Lux-based control deck, is going to be favored against a board-centric deck like Bannerman, right? Wrong. Historically, and I don't know if this is the way the matchup is supposed to go, so this could just be confirmation bias, but historically the answers from the Lux deck have been a little bit too late game, and we have seen the Bannerman deck completely roll over them in the early game. Granted, this is not a Lucian list out of JusteBBTV, so maybe that plays against him. He is playing 2 Sithri of the Bold alongside the 3 Genevieve, so maybe JusteBBTV has slowed down the Bannerman deck enough that Mac Logan's going to be able to pick up the win, but things are not looking phenomenal for him.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if it plays out like that now, because I do agree. Typically, control versus mid-range, control is going to have the advantage. It can take the game a little bit slower than the mid-range deck wants and ultimately be able to win out on advantage. So we'll see. I mean, the Hapless Aristocrats are helpful, especially against the 2 Fleet Feather Trackers, depending on if they get buffed up or not here, which we don't see any buffs now. We do have a barrier Not going to do too much against a hapless aristocrat, so yeah, it still feels a little bit bad here. And the second one comes out. These are amazing chump blockers right now.
That surprises me.
That Mac Logan played the hapless?
Yeah. I mean, I guess both of them are dying, so you still get the double discount on the Remembrance, and you save a little bit more damage, kill the Faithful there. Okay, yeah, no, this actually makes sense. Mm-hmm. I think I had forgotten sort of inherently that you would get the double reduction, so, you know, you still get the Remembrance off. That's what's important. That's sort of a big swing in a matchup like this, being able to get a massive unit like this so early on. It really feels like I love Remembrance. I cannot express how much I love Remembrance, and I don't even know if I actually like Lux decks or if I just like them because they're the only deck that plays Remembrance.
I love this game because of things like Remembrance. I love the idea that because we have something like Spell Mana, there is a way to actually get bigger units just internal to the game instead of just having to pay more, regular mana on your turn. You can sneak out a 6 mana unit on turn 3 because of Spell Mana, or in this case, 5 mana unit with Remembrance. So it's just pretty cool interaction that a lot of other games don't have.
So here's a question. With the release of the Moose, as well as the buff onto the Moose.
The Moose is loose.
Remembrance is far and away better than Unlicensed Innovation. Do we see a buff to Unlicensed Innovation?
Unlicensed costs 5 or 6?
6. It costs 6, and it always gets a vanilla 5/5.
I think, yeah. I think it would go down to 5.
I think we could see. I would actually really like to see a buff onto Unlicensed Innovation.
Yeah.
Like, the more I think about it and the more I see Remembrance played, like, Remembrance is just so much better in every single way.
I think bringing it down to 5 is the buff that it needs, because I think that if you bring it up to a 6/6 vanilla unit, it's actually too good. So I think that cost reduction makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah, or maybe give it some kind of keyword or something. But with so many good options coming out of Remembrance, I would really like to see that.
And one of the options, notably, that did not come out of this Remembrance is Radiant Guardian. So that is a little minor win for BBTV here. Obviously not what you want to see, but Cavalry still pretty good for trading. And that's exactly what I expect this Cavalry unit to do here after Valor goes ahead and blocks this Grizzled Ranger. But to no avail, because the one and only Ranger's Resolve comes out, making it just so difficult to kill things.
So the one thing that the old Thresh Lux deck did have over the current iteration is that because it was an Undying deck, it played Ruination and didn't really care. And lately, without Ruination, without Judgment, we've seen these Lux decks struggle to handle these wide boards that Bannerman produces, especially once the actual namesake Vanguard Bannerman comes down and makes the board so much bigger. Maybe even if we just saw a Judgment in the deck, that would be enough. Because we were seeing Judgments out of the Karma Luxes in Korea.
Yeah, and I like Judgment. You're saying put Judgment in these Bannerman decks?
In the Thresh Lux deck.
Oh, sorry, in the Thresh Lux deck. I like Judgment overall, to be honest with you. I'm actually kind of surprised that throughout the lifespan of Runeterra, it really hasn't seen significant play. And when it did see play, it was really only because you had 2 Garens. So I agree. I do think it's a really good card. It gets you, in this case, some synergy with Lux to get another Final Spark. And yeah, it does deal with boards like this. I guess the question is, do you really need to worry that much about Bannerman and boards that go wide like this that you need to play Judgment, or can you just afford to play a different option?
I mean, there are Bannerman is really coming out in just about every lineup. I don't think we've seen a single player cut Demacia from their lineup. Everyone is either running Bannerman or Lux at this point. So I think it's definitely something to consider, especially because, while the strength of Bannerman and Frostbite midrange has increased over the last couple of patches, neither of them feels like that third deck that you were just kind of forced into playing. With the power levels increasing and with so many players running them, I think it still doesn't feel good to ban the Bannerman. It's such a linear strategy. You feel like you should be able to beat it with your lineup. And I think that teching for it feels fine.
Well, yeah, because internally you're thinking, a monkey could play this deck. You just throw stuff on the board and it's hack, right? This isn't... I should be able to beat that. I'm not a monkey. I can beat this deck. And then you play it and nope.
It was after the first Twitch Rivals, Swim was doing a review of his matches with Lobster, and he was counting his misplays, and he's like, I almost never misplay with Bannerman. And he's like, how do you misplay with Bannerman, actually?
Yeah, you don't. I don't think you do. As long as the number on the card matches the number of mana you have, I don't think it really matters. Oh, man. And we see Genevieve, speaking of really hard decisions to make, playing that Genevieve seemed like a pretty damn good one on this attack turn. And we'll see if I almost said BBG, BBTV can capitalize with the Genevieve this turn.
I'm trying to figure out how I felt about this play with the Vanguard Sergeant. I think it's okay because you have the Remembrance. I'm trying to think of like Vengeance onto the Genevieve followed by a Final Spark would have been better. But honestly, I can't say for sure. Your luck still would have died to the 2 challengers out of your opponent. I think it overall works out really well for you, though.
Well, okay, so Lux needs all 6 mana to be spent, right?
Yeah, and it looks like because of this single combat from JusteBBTV, the Vengeance wouldn't have worked out. The Lux still would have died. You wouldn't have gotten your Final Spark, and it looks like even the single combat isn't going to work out.
Yeah, this is kind of a rough turn for Mac Logan. I mean, I think he will live. The issue is being able to redevelop on the following turn, and he's not really going to be able to get any value out of Lux. Even if you play a Rekindler, you get a Lux to the field. You don't have any mana to play a 6-cost spell to get this Final Spark off.
I mean, you will have Vengeance on the next turn, but I'm looking at how this plays out, and I think JusteBBTV is really considering this single combat to take out the Lux anyway, which I do like. The Genevieve is going to be dying anyway. You might as well use your single combat to kill the Lux. That's sort of the high priority target. I don't think he has lethal besides. I think it looks like he pushes 10 damage.
Yeah, it's close, but it's definitely not lethal. You do have these 2 cavalry, 2 block, but they will, with them both being 3 or less health, or sorry, only 1 cavalry because of the single combat, with this one only being 3 health, even with the tough, no, he'll be able to block this Badger Bear and trade evenly, but I think, does he have to, no, it gets pulled with the Fleet Feather. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Does open up Remembrance for the turn, though. Can you get a Radiant Guardian, 1-time Mac Logan? What's in the box?
Do it.
It's a 3rd cavalry.
Oh, feels really bad. It's 25%, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, wow, that's a feels bad man moment. Not gonna lie. And I guess you just jam the Rekindler after this open attack.
Yeah, trying to figure out if JusteBB has lethal on the following turn. I think the answer is... Actually, yeah.
I think, yeah, because of the Quinn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because if 2 attackers get through because of your 3 blockers and Vengeance, then do the 2 lowest attack units kill you? And the answer is yes. Valor and the Larone Protege will kill you, but those are both the units with Challenger, so you're going to have to take... you're going to have 3 attack units coming at your face anyway, so even a Vile Feast doesn't necessarily save you. What's off the top for Mac Logan? It's not Judgment, I'll tell you that. And Concerted Strike, not going to get it done because you did not get that Radiant Guardian. There is no lifesteal available for you. Mac Logan, you put up a good fight, but JusteBBTV is going to be moving on to the finals.
Yes, he is. Yeah, that is a whole lot of damage coming through there. 3, 6, 9. The Vengeance not going to be able to... Yeah, the Vengeance not going to be able to do enough here. And now I'm just curious to see who our other opponent in the finals is going to be. So we should be hearing shortly who was able to win that game as well. And yep, there is the defeat screen. And wow, all right, so a 3-game semifinals there. About to head into the finals now and see who the opponent is going to be there for BBTV, who is on a tear right now. Seems to be playing really well. All right, guys, that is it. All right, guys, that is it. We have BBTV advancing to the finals. So we'll see how that goes in the next video. Again, do not forget to subscribe. Turn on that bell so you get notified when that video goes live. And as always, everybody, stay healthy, stay positive. I hope shit just works for you, and peace out.